Good evening. We're taking you live to Sevier County near the Cook County line for our first look, a live look at the scene where a helicopter has crashed near Cosby. This is just south of Cosby. One person is dead. One person is critically injured following this helicopter crash that happened this afternoon. You can see that is Apple Tree Lane, and that is leading back into what we believe is Baxter Orchard, an apple orchard. And that leads to the scene of this helicopter crash. You can see authorities have the entrance to that road blocked off. We're told by witnesses that there are dozens of fire trucks on scene further down the road as the response effort continues there in Sevier County near the Cook County line following a helicopter crash this afternoon. We know that one person is dead. One person is critically injured following this crash. That's according to the Sevier County Sheriff. That's our Sam Luther getting ready for a live shot on WVLT. We are learning a little bit more about possible aircraft that could have been flying in the area at the time, and I want to bring up this computer shot for you. This is a site called Flight Aware, and it will tell you flight paths that are scheduled for different airports across the country. And this is a flight tracker that we have pulled up for the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge Airport near Sevierville. And down here it tells you all of the departures that were logged. Not all always are. So these are only flights that had entered flight paths. So when we look at around the time when this helicopter crashed, 2:13, we see that a helicopter took off from this particular airport. And when we click to learn more, we see an image of this type of helicopter, and we learn more about its flight schedule. Now, we need to mention that we have not gotten confirmation about which helicopter was involved in this crash or the tail number of any helicopters that were involved in this crash. We are simply looking at a public flight tracker that tells us when certain aircraft had taken off and arrived in from this airport, from the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge Airport. Now, when we look at the flight path for this particular aircraft, we, and I'm just going to flip back over here, we see that it departed at 2:13 and it had a scheduled landing time of 2:21, but we see on this tracker that that landing was not recorded as happening. Instead, under the arrival, it says that this aircraft was last seen at 2:21, 5 minutes before it was scheduled to land near Sevierville. And when we go back one page, we see that the arrival of this particular aircraft, it's listed as result unknown. So again, we need to give you a strong caveat here. We do not know if this is the particular aircraft that was involved in this crash, but we do know that it was registered to a company in California that leases helicopters. You can see here on their website, they've got one of these particular aircraft for lease right now. We have reached out to the owner of this company to try to learn more about whether or not his particular aircraft was involved, and we're waiting to hear back on that. If we take you to a map, you can see the general area where this crash has happened. Apple Tree Lane is the exact location, and we're going to take you back to this live scene now. Our Sam Luther is out there live. Let's listen in as he continues his reporting from near Cosby. All right, looks like we're having some issues with his audio there, but basically this is the entrance to the crash scene. This is Apple Tree Lane, and you see that authorities have this area blocked off. We understand that this crash happened possibly in the Baxter apple orchard that
speak with our folks
this
in the building
road leads to.
back
And
at
here's Sam.
WVLT have been reaching out to people who have seen this and seen things through Facebook, who say that they have actually heard from people that have seen this happen. They said at one point there were about 40 fire trucks on this scene. They said it was a really big presence. Again, right now, this is all we can see from this vantage point. We're going to work to move around here in this area to get you guys the best view, Brittany, as we continue to learn more information here just inside the Sevier County line.
All right, that is the tail end of Sam's report from Sevier County near the Cocke County line, where a helicopter has crashed, leaving one person dead and one critically injured, according to the Sevier County Sheriff. And this is our first look at the scene as we trying to gather more information about what may have happened here. Keith Ross is asking on our Facebook Live about the weather conditions at the time of this crash. And, you know, we know that we're under a first alert weather day today because of the rain and wind threat. We basically have been tracking two different systems or pieces of the storm, one that came in the morning, one that's going to come later tonight. But we did talk to Scenic Helicopter Tours, which is a tourist helicopter ride company in Sevier County, and they did talk with us, Keith, about flying conditions today, and they said, quote, these weather conditions are not flyable. So that is the best inclination or indication so far that we've been able to get about the flying conditions today, but they're the only people to comment so far on that for us. We are learning that the call came in just before 3 o'clock this afternoon about this crash. And preliminarily, we're hearing from authorities that 2 people were on board, which would be consistent with what we're hearing from the Sevier County Sheriff. He's telling us 1 person died and that 1 person is now critically injured because of this. Again, this happened in Sevier County right there by the Cocke County line. And I'll take you back to this map that gives us a better idea of exactly where we're talking about here. So Baxter's Orchard, you see right here on 321. We know this area to be that orchard, and then this is Apple Tree Lane, and this road leads back in here and then dead ends. Authorities say Apple Tree Lane is the site of the crash. If we zoom out, we'll give you some perspective on where we are. And you can see Cosby is just northeast of this crash site, and these are all the different businesses that line 321 here, and these are places that many of us have passed during our adventures through Sevier County. This is right on the border with the national park. We have talked with a couple different businesses in the area, including Donna Joe's Market and Subway, and they were telling us, you know, there are just an extensive amount of emergency crews. You heard Sam mention there some 40 fire trucks is what they reported seeing on scene. We did call Baxter's Orchard, got no answer. Called some of the other businesses and either couldn't get anyone on the phone, or they reported that they just simply didn't see anything and didn't have much to report. We're just getting some more information here into the newsroom. I want to share with you the assistant county mayor in Cocke, I believe. Oh, this is in Sevier County. So this is coming from Perrin Anderson in Sevier County. Cocke County and Sevier County authorities were notified of this helicopter crash just before 3 o'clock this afternoon. They're saying what we already knew. The crash happened right there near the county line, close to Pittman Center. They're saying preliminary information indicates 2 people were on board when this happened, which we know. Emergency responders and investigators are actively working the scene, which we also know. That's coming from Perrin Anderson. Just coming in now from the FAA, and let's listen into this. Is from Sam Luther.
You see it go down, and it's coming towards where you live.
It came towards where we live. As I was coming out of my house, you see it just streak across. It was a glimpse, but you knew what it was and what was going on. You couldn't get to it fast enough. And where it is, man, they're lucky that they found it, because there's been many that have not been found. So,
you got to imagine that creates a big noise, too, in the middle of the woods there, right?
Incredibly loud, and you know something's wrong. When something like that hits the side or the bottom of a mountain that your house is attached to, you know it. It shakes windows, it rattles things, and you know it has to be something big. A meteor? No. But a helicopter we saw, yes. And it rattled. These people, I know these people, and I know they are scared to death. Had to be. helpless.
Quiet part of town too. I can't imagine this would happen, right?
Oh man, you're talking about back in the hills, really quiet. You know, if somebody has a flat tire, that's a big deal to us. You know, we have to stop and help them. But, geez, that was really obnoxiously loud. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Yeah. So you knew something wasn't right, and when you put two and two together, you see the helicopter going, you hear that loud crash, crumbling sound. Then the rumble. You know what's happened.
How close do you live to where the accident actually took place?
Right
Is there a
on.
way to quantify, like,
Yes, sir.
mileage or blocks or how?
If you, from the crash site, if you walked up the hill, down the other side, I live probably a tenth of a mile away, at a minimum. If you get by the way the crow flies, it's a long way because of the road, but it's right behind where we live, right behind it.
And are they still back there? Crews
Yeah.
all still back there?
Yes, there's people walking through the woods. You can hear them talking. They're measuring. They're picking up pieces. They're putting it all together. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of people walking in the woods right now, I guess, trying to recreate. So very busy.
Anything else you want to say?
I don't guess so. This is just a sad incident that occurred, but you know, things happen, and I'm just glad that if it had to happen, it did where it did, because they were able to get to it. It's hard to climb these mountains and not get to it. You'll never get there, but here you can get to it because it's right outside your door. You just stand on your porch and you can see a lot of stuff happen, but you don't normally see things like this. We were fortunate, I guess, to catch it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, you want to break down? We got.
All right, that is Sam Luther live on the scene there in Sevier County, interviewing a witness to this helicopter crash. A man basically saying he lives a tenth of a mile away from the crash site. He said the crash was extremely loud, that he could feel it as well as hear it, and was grateful that the crash happened where it did happen, because this is an area that's easy to access for first responders, and that because of the location of the crash, first responders were able to get there quickly. He calls this obviously a sad situation, but is grateful for the fact that it happened in a place that would be easy for first responders to get to. He says that they've got a lot of activity out on the scene right now. As you can imagine, investigators are measuring the site, picking up pieces, looking in the woods for other pieces of evidence as they try to recreate the scene and document everything that happened so that they can piece together how it happened. We are getting some more information now from the FAA, and they are one of the first people that we reached out to when we started getting reports of this crash, and they are confirming that a Robinson R-44 helicopter, and I'm going to show you an image of that right now. I'm going to get it pulled up on the computer screen here for you. This is what one of those helicopters looks like. They are confirming that this type of helicopter crashed after taking off from Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge Airport early this afternoon. And so that confirms for us more information that we've been sharing for you. When we look at the flight tracker, we see that this type of aircraft, a Robinson R-44, took off from this airport at 2:13 this afternoon, and that its arrival is result unknown. So that's confirming the information that we have been sharing for you. Also, the FAA confirming what we've been reporting from authorities. Two people were on board. The Sevier County Sheriff tells us that one person died and that one is suffered critical injuries. The FAA and NTSB, as they always do in these situations, handle the investigation going forward. Of course, the NTSB will be in charge of everything. Neither agency ever identifies people who are involved in these aircrafts, but they usually do provide a tail number for the aircraft, which can be used to track down the owner of that aircraft. But when we look on FlightAware at this particular flight, we know exactly what the tail number is and who the aircraft belongs to. It's a company called Touchstone Helicopters out of California, and they essentially lease helicopters. And this one that is for lease right now on its website, that is the helicopter, type of helicopter that the FAA is reporting was involved in the crash. But the FAA not releasing as of yet the exact tail number. So all indications point to the fact that this is likely the aircraft, but we're still waiting on that extra piece of confirmation from the FAA about the tail number to match the two aircraft. We have reached out to different touring companies in Sevier County just to see, hey, is this anything that your aircraft may have been involved with? All of them telling us no. One of them telling us, look, these are not conditions that we would even be flying in, saying that the weather conditions are just simply not flyable. And so that's what we've learned from some of those different agencies that operate flight tours. But again, if you're just joining us, this is the scene or the crash site, Apple Tree Lane here in Sevier County, right there on the Cocke County line. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Sorry, just getting some more information into the newsroom here. And if we zoom out, you can see Cosby is right up here, northeast of the crash site. So we are gonna, so Sam, just to be clear, guys, Sam is gonna be live at the top of the 5? Yes. Okay, great. So we'll probably stay live with you here now so that we can take Sam in just a few minutes. He just finished an interview with a man, a pretty compelling interview with a man who described what he heard in that area when the helicopter went down this afternoon. He says he lives maybe a 1/10 of a mile away from the crash site, said it was loud, said he could even feel it. And said that there's a lot of activity now at that crash site. People walking around, measuring, picking up pieces of evidence, going through the woods, looking for more evidence. And of course, the goal now from the NTSB and FAA is to try to get a better understanding of what may have gone wrong that caused this deadly helicopter crash in Sevier County. This witness says, you know, this is a tragic situation. This is sad. We hate this. But if there's any silver lining, it's that the crash happened in an area that can easily be accessed by rescue crews, and that may have helped or played a role in rescue crews and first responders getting there fairly quickly. So we're watching Sam set up for his live shot there that is set to happen here in any minute. So we'll take that as soon as we can, and I'm watching things for you. But again, yeah, folks asking about the weather conditions, and we know we're in the middle of a first alert weather day today with 2 separate systems, one in the morning and then one later tonight, and then just a lot of yucky weather right there in between. So let's take you live to our newscast. Give me one more second here because he's not quite ready. Okay, I'm trying to time this perfectly for you. But yeah, one of the touring companies that is in Sevier County, operates these helicopters for tourists, said the weather conditions were just not flyable. These are not conditions that they say that they would fly in. But we did reach out to the handful of touring agencies in Sevier County that operate helicopters, and they basically all told us that our aircraft were not involved in this crash. We have reached out to this company in California that may own the aircraft that crashed today. We are still waiting to hear back from them. As of yet, we have not. I just want to double check and see I didn't get any emails in the last few minutes that would help us here. But let's take you back to the scene. And this is Sam Luther. It's his live shot that's set up, and he's about to go live for us. And this is the area where the plane went, or excuse me, where the helicopter crashed. This gives you a better idea on the map where he is. Apple Tree Lane is the area just southwest of Cosby. And we know there are a bunch of different businesses here. We did speak with Donna Joe's Market and Subway, and they said at one point there were some 40 thank you, some 40 or so firefighters that were that had responded to this scene. Again, if you're just joining us, we're waiting on a live shot here from Sam Luther, who is our reporter live in the field covering the story for us. One person dead, one person critical after a helicopter crashed in Sevier County. The aircraft we know does not belong to UT Medical Center. The aircraft we know does not belong to Knox County's Sheriff's Office, which we know they also fly and operate a helicopter in our area. We also reached out to a handful of helicopter companies that do helicopter tours in Sevier County. All of them told us that their aircraft were not involved either. What we were able to learn, and I'm going to bring up another shot here for you, by looking at a flight tracker, which is basically a site that publicizes flight paths that have been submitted for various aircraft. This is for the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge Airport, and not all flight paths are entered. So, this does not represent all the flights that were happening around the time, but we do see at the time that, around the time that this crash was reported, a helicopter matching the description of the helicopter the FAA says crashed took off from the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge Airport. That's where authorities say this crashed helicopter took off from. And when we look at the departure time, it was 2:13 this afternoon, but when we look at the arrival time, it says result unknown. So when we go to this flight path, we see that the landing was supposed to happen at 2:21, and based on this website, it looks like that landing just didn't happen, or at least didn't happen as scheduled. And this tells us a little bit about where this particular aircraft came from, and we've traced it back to a company in California called Touchstone Helicopters that leases aircraft. And you can see the exact type of helicopter that the FAA says crashed this afternoon is this one that they currently have listed for lease on their website. Now, we have reached out to the owner of this company and have yet to hear back from anyone with that operation to learn more about what may have happened today and who may have contracted this particular aircraft, if it was in fact contracted. So we'll take you back here and just give you another idea of the scene where Sam Luther is set up as we prepare to go to him live. He just got done speaking with a witness to the helicopter crash, which was pretty compelling. This man said, my gosh, it was an incredibly loud crash, and that he could hear it, almost feel it. It was so intense. And he says, this is just a horrible thing that you hate to hear about. But his one silver lining was that the crash happened in an area where first responders could get to very quickly. And you see why. Here's 321. This is the crash site. This is not a difficult scene to access for emergency responders, especially if they're coming from perhaps nearby Cosby or surrounding areas. This is a fairly easy place to access, and the terrain does not look to be so terrible on this specific road. So he also was telling us that there is a lot of activity, as you can imagine, at that scene as investigators try to pick up evidence, look for more evidence, and piece together what went wrong. Let's listen in to Sam. He's about to go live again for us.
There's a map that you see right here on your screen of where that helicopter went down. It's right along Parkway East. We spoke with businesses in the area who tell us more specifically it happened right near Baxter's Orchard. Our Sam Luther is on the scene. New information coming in just about 10 minutes ago. Sam, what do we know now?
Well, Brittany, we're here right along Hooper Highway outside of Jack's Market, where authorities have now staged us. You won't see a ton from this perspective, but if you take a look down the road, you may be able to faintly see a blue flashing light. That's where everything happened along the Hooper Highway. But brand new news into our newsroom within the last 10-15 minutes. The FAA confirming a Robinson R44 helicopter was the chopper that crashed right here along Hooper Highway. We just talked to someone who lives, he says, a tenth of a mile where this crash happened, deep in the hills there on the other side of the road of Hooper Highway. He tells me that he saw it with his own eyes. It's an unmistakable sound and sight the sound of something not going right. The big sound of the boom is that helicopter landed into the woods, in the mountains, in those deep wooded area. Again, you won't be able to see a whole lot from this vantage point, Brittany. It's deep back into the woods, as our folks inside the building at WVLT have talked to people who saw this all happen. They said at one point they saw 40 fire trucks, or an estimation of that. We're still trying to learn a little bit more about who the two people inside were, but like you said, Brittany, the Sevier County Sheriff's Office confirming again, one person tragically has passed from this, another person critically injured, Brittany, but we're here along Hooper Highway continuing to try and get you guys a good vantage point of what happened as we continue to learn more about this breaking news story that's unfolding within every minute and an hour here this afternoon.
And Sam Luther, thank you. We've also contacted.
All right, that is Sam Luther live from the scene this afternoon for us. We do want to share some of his interview with a witness that he just got a few moments ago. Let's see if we can get that ready for you here.
Do you live right here in this area?
I live at the end of this road where this occurred.
What's your day look like so far?
Interesting, very weird. Lots of fire trucks. Never seen that many fire trucks in my life. Cruisers, traffic. And it had to be controlled chaos, because it was a helpless feeling watching that, knowing somebody's going to be.
You saw the helicopter go down.
Saw it. I saw the plane of the elevation of the helicopter, and it wasn't going straight or up. It was heading straight down. And it wasn't long before, I mean, it was minutes away from every unit in Sevier County and Cobb County, the Park Service, headed this way straight up Indian Camp. We couldn't get out of our driveway for all the EMS and all that stuff. But it was a helpless feeling. It was going down. There's nothing you could do. I mean, you just watched it.
You see it go down, and it's coming towards where you live.
It came towards where we live. As I was coming out of my house, you see it just streak across. I mean, it was a glimpse, but you knew what it was and what was going on. You couldn't get to it fast enough. And where it is, man, they're lucky that they found it, because there's been many that have not been found. So,
you gotta imagine that creates a big noise too in the middle of the woods there, right?
Incredibly loud, and you know something's wrong when something like that hits the side or the bottom of a mountain that your house is attached to. You know it. It shakes windows, it rattles things, and you know it has to be something big. A meteor? No. But a helicopter we saw, yes. And it rattled. These people, I know these people, and I know they are scared to death. Had to be. Helpless.
Quiet part of town too. Just, I can't imagine what happened, right?
Oh man, you're talking about back in the hills, really quiet. You know, if somebody has a flat tire, that's a big deal to us. You know, we have to stop and help them. But, geez, that was really obnoxiously loud. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Yeah. So you knew something wasn't right, and when you put two and two together, you see the helicopter going, you hear that loud crash, crumbling sound. Then the rumble. You know what's happened.
How close do you live to where the accident actually took place?
Right on.
Is there a way to quantify, like,
yes, sir.
mileage or blocks or how?
If you, from the crash site, if you walked up the hill, down the other side, I live probably a tenth of a mile away, at a minimum. If you get by the way the crow flies, it's a long way because of the road, but it's right behind where we live, right behind it.
And are they still back there? Crews all still back there?
Yes. There's people walking through the woods. You can hear them talking. They're measuring. They're picking up pieces. They're putting it all together. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of people walking in the woods right now, I guess trying to recreate. So very busy.
Anything else you want to say?
I don't guess so. This is just a sad incident that occurred, but you know, things happen, and I'm just glad that if it had to happen, it did where it did, because they were able to get to it. It's hard to climb these mountains and not get to it. You'll never get there. But here.
All right, that was Mike Hogue, a witness who was sharing with Sam Luther, our reporter on the scene, what he experienced and what he saw this afternoon when a helicopter crashed in Sevier County, right by the Cobb County line, around 3 o'clock. That's when the crash was reported. One person on board has died. The second person on board, one of two, there were two people on board. The second person is critically injured, according to the sheriff. But basically, Mike Hogue telling our reporter out on the scene that he knew something was wrong. He saw this kind of streak across the sky. He says it was going down and there was nothing you could do. He described this sense of helplessness watching this happen, and said that the noise was terrifyingly loud, and that he could almost feel the impact. That's how close he was. He says he lives about 1/10 of a mile away. We're going to continue to gather more information about this developing story. We'll share it with you on air, online, here on Facebook, and through the WVLT News app.